Good Monday morning. It's July 27th, 2020. I'm Guy McPherson from Nature Bats Last, the Universal Resource Locator, aka URL for Nature Bats Last is guymcpherson.com. See, you learned something already. If you didn't know that already, URL stands for Universal Resource Locator. My email inbox indicates that I must provide some sort of explanation for why we are doing this work for free. I'm not sure you need an explanation for why we're doing this work for free, but here goes. 2 reasons I continue to provide these nearly daily updates. 1, if there is a link between industrial activity and the stock markets, then the stock markets can be used as an indicator of reduced industrial activity. And as we know, based on the aerosol masking effect, as little as a 20% reduction in aerosols or a 20% reduction in industrial activity causes a 1 degree Celsius global average temperature spike, more than enough to cause the extinction of humans and therefore all life on Earth. If that isn't reason enough for you, and it probably isn't for most people, because the link is tenuous, the stock markets don't necessarily reflect reality in any form. So if that doesn't do it for you, then here's the other reason I do this. Inspired by Albert Camus, I'm an absurdist. The absurdist philosopher Albert Camus described the absolute disconnect between reality and what passes for reality for most people on Earth. So that's yet another reason I continue to do this, is to point out the complete disconnect between what is happening in the world and what we think or believe ought to happen in the world. That sounds a little sketchy. In any event, here we go with some headlines. From MarketWatch, billionaire investor Ray Dalio fears for the dollar and the, quote, soundness of our money, end quote. Here's why. Yes, at this point, everybody should be a little concerned about the soundness of our money, because the US dollar is going right down the toilet. From The Guardian, Hawaii avoided a coronavirus spike, but its tourist economy is shattered. Oh, what a surprise. An economy dependent almost completely upon tourists shuts down for months, and suddenly its economy is shattered. Who'd have thunk it? Again, if you're not seeing the absurdity in this situation, you probably should look someplace else, or maybe you're just not capable of seeing absurdity. From the Wall Street Journal, Fed outlook turns gloomier as coronavirus spreads. Well, of course the Fed outlook has turned gloomier because the coronavirus is getting traction, is taking off again, and is reducing industrial activity. And if that industrial activity is reduced by 20%, maybe plus or minus a few percent, considering that the whole situation has got to be worse than you and I know, then we're going extinct. So this is important to pay attention to. From CNBC, tech earnings could determine whether sell-off is routine pullback or leadership crisis for stocks, as if there's ever been any leadership in stocks. And speaking of tech stocks, Hong Kong's NASDAQ of the East, and the NASDAQ in the United States is the indicator, the index that is based on tech stocks. So Hong Kong's NASDAQ of the East, their tech stocks, has rough first day. Global stocks muted. So again, if the global indication of tech stocks tanking is matched by the NASDAQ in the United States tanking, the NASDAQ lately has been leading the way for the stock market indexes, and that could spell really bad news in terms of industrial activity and therefore the aerosol masking effect. Finally, from Bloomberg, gold pierces record as dollar sinks. It's not surprising. That's historically been the relationship between gold and the US dollar, is an inverse relationship. Futures gain. Wait, what? Stock futures gain in light of all this terrible news I just relayed about the stock market? Markets Wrap, and it's called Markets Wrap because this article first came out last night. It was updated at 6:55 a.m. Eastern time this morning. Okay, so what's happening in the stock markets? After being solidly down yesterday across the board, the Dow Jones Industrial average is down slightly. The NASDAQ is booming up, and the S&P 500 is unchanged this morning at 9:31 Eastern time. There you have it. If you wanted absurdity, you've come to the right place.